American buildings use more energy on average than any other nation in the world. And we're not in the most severe climate. We're actually somewhere in the middle. But our buildings on average use more energy than any other nations. And why is that? Because we actually should be able to afford to build some of the best buildings in the world. And the whole issue of building energy use is a critical national consideration in that it's obvious that we've gone to war for energy issues. We are looking at short-term economics and ignorance being large reasons that we're not changing the way we're building. We don't fully understand the science, but we understand a whole lot of the science. And that science says that what we're doing at present can easily be fixed, for it's pretty readily, the science and the technology is available to, with small tweaks to the way we're building, we can reduce the average energy consumption in our buildings by upwards of 60%. We actually know through Passive House, which is one of the programs that's scientifically based and has wide acceptance in Europe, that we can reduce the average energy use for conditioning purposes by 80 to 90%. And that would have a huge trickle-down effect in the way of economics, as far as energy use throughout the world, global CO2 emissions, but also comfort. Comfort is a huge thing that I often think is hugely overemphasized by Americans, but it's one of the biggest reasons why people should be moving towards more energy efficient homes in the U.S., because the current economic driving forces make it harder to justify. Yeah, I do believe if you were to look at it over the course of a 20-year mortgage, that it's totally justifiable economically. And in fact it's actually totally clear to me that since the life expectancy of a building should be on the order of a minimum of 40 years to several centuries, that looking at a 20-year payback is very short-sighted. But a 20-year payback on the energy efficiency measures of a building is probably, there's so many variables involved, it'd be hard to actually put it for each design to put a number on it. But 20 years payback for creating a building that uses 60 to 90% less energy is a no-brainer in my mind. And yet people have trouble justifying it economically because they're looking at 5 to 7 year returns on investment, which I think is totally asinine. That we look at our own occupancy time. Oh, I'm only going to live in this house 3 years, so it's got to pay for itself in 3 years, or I'm not doing it. Well, it's going to pass on that savings to whoever lives in it after you sell it, and to only consider your own immediate energy use and payback and not the value that you're passing on to the future owners is very short-sighted. And that's unfortunately where the state of real estate and the economy is in the U.S. Building an energy efficient home can be proven economically to be smart, the public being unaware of the real values and the potential there, and belief by the public that we're actually doing a credible job with a typical home. Even in California, where it's often cited as having the most stringent energy codes in the nation, it's a bit farcical. I kind of believe the same thing, but we know from testing and from homes where we have actually done a good job that the homes that we're building now, building to code, does not force them to build a good house. There's too many little details in how we build that allow you to take a good concept and totally shoot it in the ass. It's simply a matter of code-driven changes, which are both basically recipes, are gamed so heavily by designers and people trying to meet Title 24, the energy code in California. The people whose job it is to determine whether the home qualifies to be considered in compliance with Title 24, their job is to game the system to make the design work according to California code. And they've gotten extremely good at that. The problem is, there's a multitude of problems, but one is that getting a theoretical gain is not the same as a real life savings. And that's been shown. It's been shown that the energy modeling programs are really inaccurate. And it's been shown that a lot of the energy efficiency programs out there do not actually create the savings. And those go from LEED to Energy Star Homes to any number of programs that have theoretical gains and seem to be pushing in the right way, but they're theoretical gains. You qualify for the program based on your plans, not the actual performance. And in the case of LEED, there's claims by
It was LEED.
Leadership in Energy Efficient Design, but that's not actually correct. Leadership in it's
a movement. It's a program that people
by the U.S. Green Building Council, and they've actually had a bunch of commercial buildings, government buildings, which were required to be LEED certified in the belief that they would use less energy. And the U.S. Green Building Council claimed that the average LEED building used, I believe the figure was 28% less energy than the non-LEED commercial building.